Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, the What If guy. Back with another fanfiction. This is the first part of What If Betrayed Issei Rose Stronger. Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. Before the story begins, it is important to note that this is a favorite fanfiction featuring Issei, and the reasons will become clear as the story unfolds. In a normal perspective, Issei asked Rias where she was going. She paused, muttering without turning around, asking if he would protect her. Issei immediately affirmed that he would protect her and Asia as well. When she mentioned Akino, Issei responded confidently, but he was puzzled by her sudden request. Rias then asked him a deeper question about her identity in his eyes. Issei, trying to clarify, simply stated that she was Bucho. This response caused Rias to yell at him, her voice mixed with tears, before she rushed out of the clubroom. Issei was left shocked and saddened by her reaction. Asia chased after Rias, turning back to Issei with tear-filled eyes. She expressed her disappointment, accusing him of being horrible for not understanding Rias's feelings. Issei stood there, confused and hurt by her words, which echoed in his mind. Kiba, standing beside the other ORC members, pointed out that Issei's response was not right. He sighed, understanding the emotions the girls were experiencing. Akino stepped forward with a stern expression, confirming that it was natural for Rias and Asia to be upset. Zenobia added her thoughts, noting that even she found Issei's behavior lacking. Irina chimed in, expressing her disapproval, while Kaneko coldly stated that he was the worst. The weight of their words began to crush Issei, and he looked to Gasper for reassurance. Gasper, nervously twitching, admitted that he thought Issei was indeed very bad. Feeling overwhelmed by the angry stares from his friends, Issei fell to his knees, feeling as if he had been struck. He muttered to himself, questioning why this was happening. Ravel, panicking, suggested that it was her fault, but Akino reassured her that Issei was the one at fault for not considering the important feelings between himself and Rias. As Akino prepared tea for the group, Issei felt increasingly isolated and decided to leave the room. He paused halfway to the exit, reflecting on the harshness of his friend's reactions and trying to comprehend the situation with Rias. He muttered to himself, accepting that it might be his fault. In the depths of Issei's mind, a red dragon stirred from its slumber, sensing the turmoil within its host. The dragon questioned the disturbance, while Issei clutched his chest in pain, repeating that it might be his fault. Suddenly, a vision of a fallen angel appeared in his mind, transforming from an innocent girl into a sinister figure. She smiled wickedly, taunting him about his concern for her. Issei, trembling with fear, denied her words, but she continued to manipulate his emotions, asking if he would die for her. As the pressure mounted, Issei coughed, feeling his strength fade. His vision blurred, and he collapsed to the floor, recalling a dark memory from 6 months ago. In the realm of flames, the red dragon observed the events unfolding, feeling a deep sense of sorrow for its partner. It urged Issei to hold on, sensing the gravity of the situation. The story continues as the characters navigate their emotions and the challenges ahead. Issei woke from a deep slumber, groaning as he stretched his arms. He looked around, confused about his surroundings. He found himself in a hospital room, his right arm connected to a modern ECG machine beside his bed. A large flat-screen television hung in front of him, and a small table next to the bed held a vase of flowers and a bottle of water. Peering out the window, he realized he was in the underworld, the sky's color confirming his location. His chest was wrapped in bandages, covering what felt like a heavy pain. He placed his hand on the bandages, wincing as memories flooded back to him. Images of Asia and others filled his mind, their harsh words echoing painfully. He recalled their accusations, "You are horrible, you are the worst, it's Issei's fault." The memories stung, and tears began to form in his eyes. Issei wondered why they had turned their backs on him. He had always been there to support them, helping them through their struggles since he became a devil and joined Rias's peerage. He wiped away his tears and gazed at the sky through the window. Suddenly, the door opened, and a man with yellow bangs entered. It was Azazel, his mentor. Seeing Issei awake, Azazel approached him. He explained that Issei had been rushed to the underworld hospital after a serious incident at the old school building. Azazel took a seat beside him, noting the sadness in Issei's aura but choosing to remain silent about it. He continued, explaining that it was strange for Issei's heart to have imploded without reason. Despite the doctor's efforts, including the use of phoenix tears, they were unable to heal him. They had to call in human reincarnated devils who were former doctors to perform surgery. Azazel reassured Issei that his heart was stable, but he would need to stay in the hospital for 2 weeks under medical care. He also mentioned that he had arranged for Issei's absence at school and that his parents were being taken care of. Issei looked down at his bandaged chest, feeling the steady beat of his heart. He asked Azazel how long he had been there. Azazel replied that Issei had been unconscious for 2 weeks and that today was the day of the rating game between Rias and Serorgbale. Issei's eyes widened, but he felt no concern for the match or his friends competing without him. The betrayal weighed heavily on his mind. Azazel, noticing Issei's indifference, inquired about what had happened between him and Rias after he passed out. Issei dismissed the question, stating it was none of Azazel's business. Azazel smirked, promising to ask again when Issei was ready to talk. On the television, the live match was underway. Rias's peerage had only a queen, a bishop Asia and a knight Kiba remaining, while Serorg stood strong. In the match location, Serorg stepped forward, proposing a direct confrontation with Rias and her remaining teammates. He declared he would not rely on strategy, intending to defeat them with sheer strength. Rias accepted, and they faced Serorg on the battlefield. Serorg, determined, asked Rias where the security eye was. Rias, gathering her demonic aura, chose to remain silent. Akino, in her Miko outfit, expressed her concern about Issei's absence. Serorg, sensing Rias's hesitation, challenged her to give her all. Rias unleashed her power of destruction, while Akino summoned lightning and Kiba prepared his attack. Their combined efforts struck Serorg directly. As the dust settled, an explosion erupted, engulfing Serorg in a blinding light. He emerged unscathed, smirking as he declared that they had not won the fight. Kiba, still gripping his sword, urged Issei to make amends with Rias, as she had lost focus due to his actions. With a burst of speed, Serorg charged at Rias, delivering a powerful blow that incapacitated her, claiming victory. After watching the match, Issei turned off the television, lost in thought about what his friends might say. He glanced at Azazel, who was speaking to someone through a magic circle. Once the conversation ended, Azazel turned to Issei, apologizing for not being able to stay longer due to an urgent matter. He promised to discuss Issei's troubles later before leaving the room. Issei, now alone, felt the weight of his thoughts pressing down on him. Changing back to his cold expression, Issei lay down on the bed and pulled up the blanket. A black angel appeared in his mind, making his wounded chest tingle. Draig, his partner, inquired about the source of Issei's distress, noting that he couldn't enter Issei's thoughts due to his deep depression. Draig wondered if it was related to the incident in the club room or Rainer. Issei dismissed Draig's concerns, stating it was none of his or anyone else's business. He then questioned why Draig preferred to communicate this way instead of directly in his thoughts. Draig explained that he was unable to access Issei's mind at that moment. Understanding, Issei acknowledged Draig's reasoning. Draig then mentioned he needed to rest after using his energy and life force to save Issei's life during a critical moment. He had given everything he could to ensure Issei's survival and required some time to recover. Issei expressed his gratitude, feeling overwhelmed by Draig's sacrifices. He reassured Draig that he had done more than enough for him. Draig requested a 3-day rest and wished Issei a good day. Issei reciprocated the sentiment but was interrupted by Draig's loud snoring, reminiscent of a parent's snore in the afternoon. Issei chuckled softly before returning to his cold demeanor. As he gazed out the window, the image of a familiar fallen angel lingered in his mind, echoing the haunting question, would he die for her? Azazel, with a magic circle near his left ear, displayed a rare, foolish expression. He rarely showed such a side of himself throughout his life. He asked if Valu was truly serious about the situation. Valu had previously sent a private message to Azazel, confirming his interest in a matter concerning a girl who had undergone a transformation. Azazel inquired if that was the only reason for Valu's interest, to which Valu acknowledged that Azazel's sharpness was part of the reason he was becoming isolated from other factions. Azazel thought to himself that he could sense Valu's smirk through his voice. He replied that it was none of Valu's business. Valu pointed out that Azazel's involvement in matters that weren't his concern led others to suspect he was plotting something. Azazel sighed, admitting that if someone were to attack him from behind, he would accept it. Valu mentioned that there were those who were after the girl in question. Azazel confirmed that it was obvious, noting the countless individuals who were struggling to eliminate her. Valu suggested that there were members of their organization who might be hoping to take action soon. Azazel asked if Valu was trying to lure out a specific individual, to which Valu clarified that he simply wanted to determine whether that person was an enemy. Valu expressed that it was time to settle the matter and inquired about Hayadu Issei's condition in the hospital. Azazel, with a hint of sarcasm, remarked on Valu's concern for his rival. He informed Valu that Issei was fine but would be in the hospital for 2 weeks, undergoing medical procedures. However, Issei was feeling depressed, though Azazel was unsure of the cause. Valu noted that the girl had told him that Issei's aura signature was not entirely dragon-like but mixed with that of a fallen angel. Azazel was surprised to learn that she could sense dragon auras and questioned why Issei's signature included a fallen angel's aura. Valu explained that the girl wanted to meet Issei, and he would send a member of his team to escort her, believing that the escort's presence would help Issei. Azazel sighed, realizing they would have a difficult discussion with the Maos in the underworld. However, he was confident they would grant her request, given the assistance Valu's team had provided during the fight against Loki and their good behavior while staying at Issei's residence. In Issei's hospital room, he lay in bed, feeling a sense of loneliness that reminded him of a similar feeling he had experienced 6 months ago. The memories of being betrayed by his first girlfriend and the near-death experience weighed heavily on him. While others assumed he was fine, Issei masked his true feelings and trauma with humor, hiding his struggles even from Drake, who resided in his mind. A flash of memory crossed his mind, a haunting question asking if he would die for someone. Pulling the blanket over his face, he stared out the window at the rain, which brought him a sense of calm, as if his soul were resting on an angel's lap. Drake called out to him, expressing concern over Issei's depression and asking what was bothering him. Issei, feeling a mix of annoyance and sadness, insisted he was managing on his own. Just then, the door opened, and Sirzex entered with Grafia. Sirzex greeted Issei cheerfully, and Issei quickly adjusted his demeanor to match the usual cheerful front he presented. Sirzex playfully urged Issei to call him Oniai-chan, but Grafia swiftly reprimanded him for being overly familiar in such a setting. Issei couldn't help but smile at the comedic duo, recalling Kaniko's words in his mind, where she expressed her mixed feelings about him. The memory brought a bittersweet smile to his face. Sirzex, noticing Issei's distraction, asked if he was all right. Issei apologized for not participating in a recent match, but Sirzex reassured him that there was no need for apologies, acknowledging Issei's contributions to the Devils and other factions. He expressed gratitude for Issei's efforts, emphasizing that he appreciated everything Issei had done for their world. Sirzex expressed his gratitude, stating that he and other faction leaders were in Issei's debt, accompanied by a warm smile. Grafia raised her eyebrows, thinking it was unusual for him to be so sharp. Sirzex explained that he had come to visit his brother-in-law, apologizing for not doing so sooner due to his responsibilities as a Mao. He mentioned that he had brought something special from Issei's fans. With a flick of his finger, a magic circle appeared on Issei's lap, revealing a box filled with letters. Issei opened the box, discovering fan letters written in simple devil script by the children of the underworld, each adorned with drawings of him in his balance breaker mode. Sirzex remarked that these children represented the future of the underworld and requested a favor from Issei. As Issei's mind flashed back to a troubling question, he lowered his head but continued to listen. Sirzex urged him to fight not only for his own dreams but also for those of the children, acknowledging the selfishness of his request but emphasizing its importance. Issei, filled with happiness while holding the letters, affirmed his commitment to fight for the dreams of many, expressing his honor in doing so as the current Securudii and a member of the Gregori clan. Sirzex thanked him and offered to repay Issei in any way he could. Issei, however, only inquired about the condition of his friends in the ORC, noting they looked beaten up. Sirzex reassured him that they were fine and just needed to recover in the hospital prepared for raiding game participants. Curious about Issei's recent mood, Sirzex asked what had been bothering him. A moment of silence followed before Issei admitted he couldn't share that with Sirzex, shifting his expression to a more serious one. Sirzex respected his boundaries but encouraged him to open up when he was ready, expressing hope that one day Issei's friends would see beyond his facade. Issei then asked if Azazel had told Sirzex about his situation with Rias. Sirzex confirmed he was aware but chose not to interfere, believing it would complicate matters further. Issei thanked him for his understanding and assured him he would handle it himself. Suddenly, a magic circle appeared near Sirzex, prompting him to stand and take a call. He spoke seriously, then concluded the conversation, stating he had to leave to address an urgent matter. He expressed a desire to discuss Issei's recent use of Triana another time, but time was not on their side. Issei thanked Sirzex for his visit, hoping he wasn't a burden. Sirzex dismissed the notion, summoning a magic circle that produced a bento box and 3 red balloons. He placed the bento on the table beside Issei and attached the balloons to the hospital bed, wishing him a speedy recovery. Issei smiled, appreciating the thoughtful gifts, even joking about being too old for the balloons. Sirzex and Grafia prepared to leave, and before exiting, Sirzex turned back to Issei, reiterating his hope that Issei's friends would see through his mask. He promised to help him when the time came. As they departed, Issei pondered Sirzex's words, muttering about the mask he wore. Drake chimed in, questioning why Issei concealed his true feelings. Issei responded with a cold expression, revealing his fear of repeating past experiences. Drake fell silent, contemplating what could be done next, until a thought struck him about sending a private message to Fafnir. In the afternoon, Issei lay in his room at the underworld hospital, gazing out the window as heavy rain fell. The sound of rain brought him a sense of calm. Over the past week, he had occasionally taken walks outside under the watchful eyes of doctors and nurses, as his heart remained fragile. Only a few knew that his heart was also fragile in a mental sense. The underworld hospital resembled those in the human world because many reincarnated devils were once human. The Maos had established a similar medical system, even dressing the staff in uniforms akin to those of human hospitals, though the nurses were notably more stylish. To Issei, it was a peculiar sight. With a pair of earphones in, Issei listened to the rock song, Down with Fallen, on his iPod, which he had requested from Sirzex earlier. Sirzex had been surprised that Issei hadn't asked for anything inappropriate, but he had easily provided the music since devils owned numerous companies in the human world. As he gazed at the sky, Issei pondered whether his friends would come to visit him. This thought made him feel a bit upset. Would he be able to face them after upsetting Rias and abandoning his responsibilities as a pawn? Part of him longed for their friendship, yet another part hesitated to see them. He lay there, scrolling through his playlist, eventually selecting Angel's Fall, as he awaited his next medical procedure at 3 p.m. Issei felt a strong urge to express his feelings symbolically, but not to anyone in particular. He found solace in rock songs from bands like Starset, 3 Days Grace, 1000-Foot Crutch, and Skillet. Throughout the week in the hospital, he had reflected on his desires and potential as a devil, questioning whether he truly wanted to be a pervert and if he was a worthy servant to Rias. Ultimately, he decided to stop being openly perverted. A few minutes later, the door opened, and Issei, thinking it was just the doctor, didn't look up. He was mistaken. Azazel entered and greeted him with a casual, friendly demeanor. Issei smiled slightly as he removed his earphones, acknowledging Azazel's presence. Azazel took a seat beside Issei and inquired about his condition, teasing him about managing without certain distractions for 2 weeks. Issei responded with a smile, appreciating the humor. Azazel continued, asking how it felt to take medications like Draig. Issei assured him he would be alright, mentioning that Draig still needed his medication due to his heart condition, humorously noting that even a tokusatsu program had been frightening Draig. Draig's thoughts echoed in Issei's mind, expressing relief at receiving his medication, while Azazel found the situation amusing, laughing at the rarity of a dragon sealed in a sacred gear needing mental support. Issei felt compelled to defend Draig, who was struggling. Just then, Saji entered the room, greeting both Issei and Azazel. He sat down, placing a plastic bag filled with items on the bed next to Issei. Issei asked if Issei was doing well, but before he could respond, Azazel interjected, teasingly revealing that Issei had been taking the same medications as Draig. Issei felt annoyance rise as he facepalmed, unable to stop Azazel from sharing. Saji, confused, asked what kind of medications Azazel meant. Azazel leaned in closer to Saji, whispering about Issei's troubles with Draig, which only made Issei feel more embarrassed. Saji chuckled, realizing the situation and teasing Issei about making the heavenly dragon upset. Suddenly, Draig's voice cried out in distress, startling both Azazel and Saji. Issei quickly activated his boosted gear, retrieving a small bottle of Draig's medication from a nearby table and sprinkling the pills on the emerald gem. He asked if Draig felt better, and Draig confirmed he was improving. Issei suggested that Draig get some rest, hoping he wouldn't have nightmares about the children who had previously shouted about Issei. With a sigh, he deactivated his boosted gear and glanced at Azazel and Saji, who were stifling laughter. Issei expressed his annoyance, mimicking Kaniko's signature narrowed eyes. Azazel cleared his throat, signaling that it was time to have a serious conversation with Issei. The trio spent time discussing various topics about the underworld after Issei's Triana. They shared laughter and amusing stories, enjoying each other's company until a nurse entered the room, pushing a wheelchair. She announced it was time for Issei's medical checkup. Issei glanced at the clock and realized it was time to leave. He climbed into the wheelchair, and the four of them exited the room. Saji decided to take his leave as well, but Azazel had other plans. Before Sai could go, Azazel insisted he come with him to the Gregori for some necessary modifications to his Dragon King form. Saji expressed his reluctance, but Azazel prepared a teleportation circle beneath him. Just as Saji began to protest, he was whisked away, leaving Issei and the nurse sharing a bittersweet smile. Azazel then turned to the nurse, asking if he could have a moment alone with Issei. The nurse nodded and stepped away. Issei inquired about the reason for Azazel's visit. Azazel expressed his concern, stating that Issei had been hiding his feelings and that it was evident something troubled him. Issei lowered his head, admitting he wanted to avoid appearing weak. Azazel reassured him that no one saw him that way. Azazel informed Issei that he would be transferred to the medical center in the Gregori the following day for his safety, as the Cows Brigade might target him. He also mentioned a visitor waiting for Issei, advising him not to show any hostility towards her. Issei nodded in acknowledgement. As Azazel prepared to leave, he promised to send Issei videos of Saji's reactions in the Gregori, which brought a small smile to Issei's face. After Azazel teleported away, the nurse returned, asking if Issei was ready. He confirmed he was, and she began to push his wheelchair toward the examination area. As they moved through the corridors, Issei's mind was filled with thoughts about the upcoming transfer and the mysterious visitor. He suddenly recalled a haunting phrase, causing him to gasp in shock. The nurse noticed his reaction and inquired if he was all right, to which Issei replied it was nothing, offering her a reassuring smile. The next day, Issei found himself in the Gregori medical section, seated in a wheelchair pushed by two twin fallen angels. Despite their beauty, Issei was preoccupied with his thoughts, having left his more inappropriate tendencies behind. He brought his iPod along for some comfort. After a short while, they arrived at a patient room that resembled a luxurious hotel suite more than a hospital. The room was adorned with carvings of fallen angels, a large window, and modern amenities. Issei was taken aback by the opulence. The twins helped him transfer to the bed, where they set up in 4-drip and ECG line. One of the nurses smiled at him in a way that made him blush. As they prepared to leave, they mentioned that if he recognized one of them, he would receive a special reward. Issei shook his head, trying to clear his mind of any improper thoughts. Once alone, he plugged in his earphones and played Fallen Angel by 3 Days Grace, preparing to rest. Just then, the door opened, and Azazel entered, greeting Issei warmly. Issei expressed relief at his presence, mentioning that the fallen angels made him uneasy. Azazel acknowledged the tension, referencing the events from 6 months prior. Issei looked away, sadness evident on his face. Azazel sighed, apologizing for bringing it up and for the rogue fallen angels that had caused trouble in Kuro. Issei turned his head slowly to Azazel, forming a small smile. He felt a sense of understanding and said that he could not be mad at Azazel for the situation, acknowledging it was not his fault. Azazel expressed his relief, noting that Issei was truly a nice person. However, Azazel's tone shifted to a more serious one as he reminded Issei about their conversation from the previous day. He mentioned the visitor and advised Issei to remain calm when she arrived, urging him not to harbor any negative intentions toward her. Issei nodded in agreement, taking the advice to heart. Azazel then approached the door and announced that the visitor could enter. When the door opened, Issei's eyes widened in surprise. Beside Azazel stood a little girl with black hair, elegantly dressed in a gothic Lolita outfit. Azazel acknowledged the girl, signaling that it had been a while since they had last met. It had been some time since Issei had last encountered Drake. Upon seeing Ophus, Issei's voice trembled, and the ECG machine began to beep rapidly, indicating his elevated heartbeat. Azazel quickly rushed to his side, urging him to calm down. He grabbed a bottle of pills from the small table beside the bed, opened it, and handed 2 pills to Issei, who swallowed them without hesitation. After a few moments, the ECG machine returned to a normal rhythm. Azazel inquired if Issei was okay, to which Issei nodded. With a sigh, Azazel expressed his frustration at Issei's reaction, acknowledging that it was understandable given the circumstances. Issei, still shaken, questioned why Azazel had brought Ophus there, feeling it violated the rules of their alliance. Azazel admitted to deceiving many to bring her there, explaining that her wish could potentially change the Cow's Brigade and that it was necessary to stop the bloodshed in the ongoing war. He asked Issei to at least listen to her story, bowing deeply in apology. After a brief silence, Issei decided to trust Azazel, acknowledging that his success as a devil was thanks to him. Azazel expressed his gratitude and hoped Issei could get along with Ophus while listening to her reasons. Issei then suggested they have green tea while Ophus spoke. Just then, there was a knock at the door. Azazel opened it, inviting the newcomer in. It was Lu Fei Pendragon, accompanied by Fenrir. Issei was surprised to see her. Lu Fei greeted him politely, mentioning that she had been under his care along with Rias Gregori in Kyoto. Fenrir barked a cheerful hello. Issei exchanged pleasantries with Lu Fei, relieved to see her well. Suddenly, a black blur appeared beside him. It was Kuroka, who playfully hugged Issei, causing him to blush. Lu Fei cautioned Kuroka, suggesting she might give Issei another scare. Kuroka complied, giving Issei a quick peck on the cheek before releasing him, leaving him relieved. Ophus then approached Issei, stating her desire to talk. Azazel encouraged Issei to drink tea and listen to her, emphasizing the seriousness of the situation. Issei nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. A diverse group had gathered in Issei's room. Ophus sat next to Issei's bed, while Azazel leaned against the window, deep in thought. Lu Fei and Kuroka occupied the chairs at the coffee table, with Fenrir peacefully sleeping beside Lu Fei. A moment of silence passed as Ophus fixed her gaze on Issei, making him slightly uncomfortable. He glanced at Azazel, who silently urged him to respond to Ophus's questions. Issei felt the pressure, knowing he was facing the ultimate dragon and the leader of the Cow's Brigade. Taking a deep breath, Issei mustered a smile and asked Ophus what business she had with him. Ophus inquired if Drake intended to quit being the heavenly dragon, leaving Issei confused. He struggled to understand her question. Ophus elaborated, mentioning the unusual growth of power in Drake and comparing it to the previous heavenly dragon. She noted that Valley exhibited similar strangeness. Ophus then asked what Drake wished to become, tilting her head cutely, which made Issei blush. Drake's voice echoed in Issei's mind, expressing uncertainty about what Issei wanted to become but acknowledging the interesting growth of power he was experiencing. Ophus pressed further, questioning why Drake considered becoming the ruler of domination. Drake explained that it stemmed from a desire for power, leading to his elimination from the world. Ophus expressed her confusion about domination, stating that neither she nor Great Red embodied it. Azazel, now seated and munching on popcorn, commented on the rarity of a conversation between a heavenly dragon and a dragon god, setting up a camera to record the moment. Issei felt exasperated by Azazel's antics, realizing the gravity of the discussion at hand. You, born from the nothingness of the infinite, and Great Red, born from the illusion of a dream, must have originated from a different dimension, Drake remarked. He sensed a strange power within his host, a flicker of hope that intrigued him. Drake questioned whether his host would abandon domination for this potential. Azazel pondered the meaning of hope. He addressed Drake, expressing his desire to observe the host more closely, eager to understand how he might bring forth this hope. Ophus, her expression emotionless yet curious, expressed her interest in learning more about the host. Azazel stood from his chair and approached Issei, asking if he could leave Ophus with him for a few days. He reassured Issei that it would be fine as long as it was just observation. Issei agreed, feeling comfortable with the arrangement. Azazel apologized for putting Issei in such situations, especially while he was unwell, but emphasized that this was an opportunity to reduce threats to all factions. Issei responded with a smile, assuring Azazel that he felt no stress in contributing to the world. Azazel then turned to Lefei and Kuroka, requesting their assistance in looking after Issei, noting that some of the female fallen angels had personalities that might intimidate him. Lefei eagerly agreed, her eyes sparkling, while Kuroka playfully acknowledged the request. Azazel asked Kuroka to provide Issei with senjutsu treatment, explaining that it would help him recover and extend his lifespan, especially since Kaneko was still healing from a recent battle. Kuroka cheerfully agreed, her tone teasing. Azazel noticed the iPod Issei was holding and expressed curiosity about the music he was listening to, as he had never struck Azazel as the type to enjoy songs. Issei handed the iPod to Azazel with a slight smile. As Azazel browsed the playlists, his eyes widened in shock at the rock music titles. He began to read the titles aloud, noting their intensity and energy. Issei sighed, explaining that the music spoke to emotions that words could not express, providing solace and healing. It gave life to everything around him and allowed him to reflect on moments from the past. Everyone except Ophus was captivated by Issei's poetic description. Suddenly, a memory flashed in Issei's mind, momentarily altering his expression. He quickly shook it off, taking the iPod back from Azazel just as Azazel excitedly proclaimed his pride in Issei's newfound appreciation for fallen angels and music. He rushed out of the room, leaving Issei slightly bewildered by his mentor's exuberance. Lefei commented on Azazel's eccentricity with a light-hearted smile. Meanwhile, Ophus's gaze was fixed on the iPod, her curiosity evident despite her usual emotionless demeanor. Issei, feeling a bit awkward, asked if she was interested in it. Drake encouraged Ophus's curiosity about the object that might unlock Issei's potential for hope. Ophus tilted her head, asking what an iPod was. Issei explained that it was a device for listening to music and invited her to try it out. As Ophus leaned closer, he placed the earphones in her ears and played the song, Let It Die, keeping the volume moderate. After a minute of silence, Issei paused the music to ask Ophus how she felt about it. He worried that he might have disturbed her, but she responded positively, saying it felt like home. Relieved, Issei offered to continue the song, and Ophus nodded in agreement. Lefei approached Issei, shyly asking for a photograph. She handed him a picture of himself in his balance breaker mode alongside the Switch Princess. Issei felt a pang of nostalgia for his friends who were still recovering from their injuries. He agreed to sign the photograph. encouraging Lufei to drop the honorifics, as all his friends could simply call him Issei. Her face flushed with excitement as she acknowledged his request. Then Kuroka made her move on Issei, playfully suggesting that they could create a family together. She embraced him from his shoulder, her playful demeanor evident. Issei felt a rush of warmth and embarrassment, his face turning bright red as he reacted to her teasing. In a hospital where the ORC gang was gathered, Akino sat on a chair next to Kaniko's bed and pondered aloud whether Issei was unaware of Rias's feelings for him. Asia, standing nearby, questioned Akino's assumption. The room was filled with the remaining members of the ORC, all of whom had fully healed except for Kaniko, who had sustained significant injuries from her match against Sarorg. She lay on the bed, conscious, while the others surrounded her. Kiba stood a bit farther away with Gasper, while Zenobia and Irina occupied chairs next to Kaniko. They initially discussed the recent promotions of Issei, Akino, and Kiba to Devil Class, but after Azazel informed them that Issei was fine in the Gregori and left the room, their conversation shifted to Issei's condition. They felt relieved that he was okay, especially after the frightening incident when his heart had seemingly imploded. Despite their concern for Issei, they needed to address issues within their group to function properly. Unbeknownst to them, Issei was haunted by his nightmares, traumas, and memories of lost loved ones, while his friends remained focused on their own feelings. Irina, a reincarnated angel living among devils, had also been influenced by their selfishness. Akino then spoke seriously, expressing her concern that Issei had not noticed Rias's feelings for him, warning that this could lead to trouble. Kaniko, her forehead wrapped in bandages, interjected with her usual monotone voice, stating that they all had feelings for Issei and he needed to recognize them. Zenobia agreed, emphasizing the need to resolve the situation between Issei and Rias to ensure the group's stability. Kaniko added that Issei had appeared heartbroken, and they needed to apologize to him. Akino agreed, saying they would visit Issei after Kaniko was released the next day. Kiba suggested they find Rias first to inform her of their plans, and the group nodded in agreement. At Phoenix Castle, Ravel stood before a large mirror, dressed in a pink high-neck dress and red high heels. She asked Isabella, who wore her battle suit and half-mask, for her opinion on her appearance. Ravel explained that she was going to visit Issei and wanted to look good. Isabella offered to escort her, but Ravel declined, stating that Azazel would fetch her later. She expressed her reluctance to ask her mother for advice, fearing teasing and the need to discuss a recent incident. Isabella gently reminded Ravel that it was not her fault and encouraged her to help Issei with his feelings. Ravel reflected on her regret for not protecting Issei during a difficult moment, recalling the fear and despair in his eyes. She felt a strong need to make things right for both Issei and Rias. Isabella reassured her that Issei was more than just a man and that her dress suited her well. Grateful, Ravel thanked Isabella, who then took her leave, leaving Ravel to wait for Azazel. The next day at 3 p.m. in the Gregori medical section, Issei, blushing and slightly annoyed, questioned Kuroka about the necessity of their current situation. Kuroka, playfully teasing him, explained that the Senjutsu healing treatment required her close proximity. As she hugged him from the side, Issei felt the warmth of her presence. Kuroka, enjoying the moment, teased him about his past reactions to such closeness. Issei, flustered, urged her to continue with the treatment. After a PRD of silence, Issei broke the tension by asking Kuroka about her relationship with Kaniko and the events of that night when she had left her sister. He expressed concern about the trauma Kaniko had endured due to Kuroka's actions. Issei expressed his confusion about Kuroka's actions towards Kaniko. Kuroka lowered her head, feeling the weight of his question. Issei quickly apologized for prying, but Kuroka's serious demeanor shifted the conversation. He was a despicable person, Kuroka stated, her playful tone replaced by a somber seriousness. Kuroka then began to recount the events of that fateful night, explaining her reasons for taking her master's life. Issei listened intently, not interrupting as she shared her story. Once she finished, a heavy silence enveloped them. So that's why Kaniko is so afraid of using her powers, Issei realized. It's unavoidable, Kuroka replied, her playful tone returning. After a moment of silence, Issei proposed a plan. He offered to help Kuroka reconnect with Kaneko, suggesting that she could assist with Kaneko's senjutsu training at his place. He was determined to help her atone for her past actions for the sake of his friend. Kuroka blinked in surprise and sighed, expressing her growing affection for Issei. She teased him about how everyone would fall for him, including herself. Issei laughed, but Kuroka's question about his change in behavior made him reflect. He explained that he wanted to be taken seriously and that he believed his past weaknesses had led to painful incidents for his friends. He vowed to leave behind his old ways to protect them and help Kuroka rebuild her relationship with Kaneko. As Issei spoke, Kuroka felt a warmth in her heart and tightened her embrace around him. She couldn't help but admire his newfound determination. Just then, a rift opened in the room and Valle, along with Biko, Arthur, and Ophus, stepped through. Valle greeted Issei casually, while Kuroka stepped back to adjust her kimono. Valle inquired about Issei's well-being, and they exchanged light banter. Ophus approached Issei, asking to charge her device, which he gladly provided. Biko joked about Issei attracting the attention of the dragon god, and Drake chimed in, playfully warning Biko to be careful with his words. Valle explained that they had come to visit and presented Issei with a wrapped gift, wishing him a speedy recovery. Issei's face flushed as he recognized the magazine's shape, but he thanked Valle and placed it on the table beside him. Valle then mentioned an upcoming party at the Gregori Research Center, inviting Issei to join them. As Valle and the others prepared to leave, Biko made a cheeky remark that left Issei blushing. Once they were gone, Issei noticed Kuroka reading the magazine he had been worried about. To his relief, it turned out to be a simple cooking magazine. Kuroka teased him about his earlier fears, and Issei leaned back, feeling a wave of exhaustion wash over him. Just as he began to drift off, the door opened, and Rall entered, greeting him warmly. Issei was taken aback by the unexpected arrival, feeling a mix of joy and apprehension. He thought to himself about Rall's presence and whether the others were with her. Rall approached him, noticing Kuroka and Ophus in the room. "Good evening, Rall. Did you come here with the others?" Issei asked as Rall stood beside him, positioned across from Kuroka. "I came here alone. Ryasama and the others said they would visit you tonight, Issei," Rall replied, her voice slightly shaky due to Kuroka and the unfamiliar Ophus being present. Issei considered the implications of the others arriving later. Issei-sama, why is Kaneko-san's big sister here, and who is that?" Rall inquired, glancing at Kuroka. Kuroka shot a somewhat intimidating look at Rall before returning to her reading. "They're here because..." Issei began to explain the situation regarding Kuroka and Ophus. After he finished, Rall seemed relieved. "So that is why they are here. If Issei-sama is with me, then it will be fine," she said, visibly relaxing. "Yes, so please cooperate, all right, Rall?" Issei encouraged, and Rall nodded. After a brief pause, she spoke again, her tone softer. "I'm sorry." Issei blinked in confusion. "About the other day, I'm sorry for not protecting you. Who knew you could be heartbroken?" Rall said, looking down. Ophus was indifferent, and Kuroka moved to another chair next to Ophus, giving them space. Issei placed his left hand on Rall's shoulder, prompting her to look up at him. Her expression was filled with sadness and guilt. "It was never your fault to begin with, Rall," Issei reassured her. "It was my fault for being so dense and foolish. I can't be mad at you for things you didn't do. Let's just forget about it. I don't want to see you sad or feeling guilty over something that wasn't your fault. Okay, Rall?" Issei said with a smile. "But..." "Shush, Rall. If you want to talk about this, let's wait until the others arrive. I would feel terrible seeing my beautiful junior sad," he added, placing both hands on her shoulders. Rall blushed at his selflessness and manly demeanor, having developed a crush on him since the battle with Razor. "All right, Issei-sama," she agreed, and Issei withdrew his hands. "So, Rall, why are you dressed so beautifully just to visit me? I'm sure you didn't come from anywhere else," Issei noted, leaning against the headboard. Ravel wore a lovely yellow high-neck dress adorned with a gem at the center, which seemed more suited for an older woman, and Issei had noticed it immediately upon her arrival. It's a princess's priority to dress nicely. I can't stand low-class devils. They are so oblivious to the underworld's culture. Umph. Ravel retorted, crossing her arms and reverting to her tsundere persona. Issei chuckled to himself, recognizing her familiar attitude. Plus, there will be a party tonight, so I dressed for the occasion. You're invited? Of course. It is my duty as your manager to look after you. I will be accompanying you to the party, Ravel declared, thumping her chest with pride. Wait, when did you become my manager? Issei asked, puzzled. Sirzex-sama appointed me as your manager to oversee your Dragon TV show, so from today on, I will be managing and assisting you with your devil-related activities, Ravel said, her eyes sparkling with excitement. That Mao certainly does everything without my consent, Issei remarked, shaking his head. As the evening approached, Issei, Ravel, Kuroka, and Ophus made their way toward the ballroom. Issei was dressed much more elegantly than in the hospital, having received new clothes from Azazel earlier. He wore a black leather jacket, half-zipped, over a jet-black t-shirt, paired with black jeans and Converse shoes, looking quite sharp. Ravel maintained her earlier attire, while Kuroka wore her customary kimono, now more modestly covering her figure. Ophus, as usual, had her iPod with her, a gift from Issei. We're here, Ravel announced as they arrived at a large door, where a receptionist and decorations awaited. Ravel approached the receptionist to present their invitation while Issei, Ophus, and Kuroka waited nearby. Issei turned to Ophus and Kuroka. Are you two sure it's all right to come in? You know there are other fallen angel leaders besides Azazel-sensei, right? Naya, it's fine. Azazel already took care of that issue, Naya. Oh, that's good to hear. All right, let's go inside, everyone, Ravel said, leading the way. Issei hoped for a calm evening, mentally preparing himself for the gathering. As the large door swung open, he was relieved to find that the ballroom was not chaotic. The spacious room featured a skylight that showcased the beautiful night sky. Numerous guests mingled, chatting and enjoying drinks, accompanied by harmonious music. Round tables were set up in one section, and a stage was decorated for some purpose. A food and drink corner occupied the left side of the ballroom. Upon entering, Issei was quickly recognized by a group of younger fallen angels, including Lu Fei. It's the Issei dragon. Issei dragon. Issei felt a wave of attention wash over him as he was surrounded by fans eager for photographs. Meanwhile, Ravel, Ophus, and Kuroka spotted Azazel and the valet team at a table, enjoying their meal, and made their way over while Issei attended to his admirers. Oh, you're here, Azazel greeted him, taking a sip of his drink. Issei, now seated beside Azazel, shared his thoughts. It was tiring, Azazel-sensei. You didn't mention that younger fallen angels liked my show too, Issei remarked, glancing around the table where the valet team, Ravel, and Ophus were having dinner. He settled between Ophus and Azazel, ready to enjoy the evening ahead. While Ravel was next to Ophus, Azazel observed them with a wide grin. He remarked that he was sure some of the attendees would be Issei's type. Issei, determined to become more of a gentleman, firmly stated that he needed to stop acting inappropriately. He then clasped his hands together and expressed gratitude before starting his meal. Azazel found Issei's change in demeanor surprising and inquired about his first day with Ophus. This question caused Issei to pause, contemplating the seriousness of the situation. He asked Azazel if he was certain that Ophus was the leader of the Cows Brigade. Issei recalled a conversation he had with Ophus earlier that day. They had been walking through a garden when he decided to ask her about her goals. Ophus, with her innocent demeanor, seemed different from the other members of the Cows Brigade. Issei was curious about her true intentions. He asked Ophus what her main goal was as the leader of the Cows Brigade. She replied that her goal was to defeat Great Red and return home, explaining that Great Red had stolen her silence. Issei was intrigued and asked where her home was. Ophus revealed that it was the Dimensional Gap, her birthplace, and that she intended to reclaim it. Issei pondered her innocence, realizing that she was not a typical leader of a terrorist group. She had no desire for destruction, and her existence seemed pure. He wondered if the Cows Brigade was using her and felt a strong urge to befriend her. He asked Ophus if she wanted to be his friend, explaining that a friend is someone you can confide in and protect. Ophus found the idea appealing. Issei then offered her an iPod, hoping she would enjoy listening to music. Ophus accepted it, and Issei encouraged her to call him by his name. Returning to the present, Issei shared his thoughts with Azazel, expressing concern that Ophus was being manipulated by the Cows Brigade. Azazel acknowledged Issei's insight and praised him for his observations. Issei felt relieved to know that Ophus was not a significant threat and considered the possibility of her staying with him as a friend. Azazel teased Issei about potentially adding Ophus to his harem, which made Issei flustered. He quickly dismissed the thought, reminding himself that Ophus was innocent. Just then he was interrupted by Asia's voice, pulling him out of his thoughts. Azazel suggested that Issei take the stage to perform, as they had prepared some instrumentals to lighten the mood. Issei agreed and whispered his song choices to Azazel, who smirked in approval. They left the group, and Kuroka playfully asked where they were going. Issei assured everyone that he would return soon. As the group continued to chat and enjoy the food, Ophus remained lost in her thoughts, listening to music. The lights in the ballroom dimmed slightly, illuminated by the moonlight streaming through the skylight. Suddenly, the speakers crackled to life, and Azazel took the stage, capturing the crowd's attention. He thanked everyone for attending the party celebrating the 200th year of the Gregori Research Center and announced a special guest performance. The crowd was surprised when he introduced Issei, who emerged from backstage, ready to take the stage. Rall exclaimed in surprise as she looked at the stage, where a large crowd had gathered to watch Issei perform. The atmosphere was electric with excitement. As Issei prepared to sing, he reflected on his journey, feeling the weight of his struggles. He was ready to embrace the challenges ahead, determined to rise above them. He had walked a long path, and now he stood at a pivotal moment, ready to give everything he had. With a powerful presence, he sang about resilience and hope, expressing that even when faced with despair, he would not give up. He envisioned a future where they could overcome darkness together, where broken wings could still soar. The crowd erupted in applause and cheers, captivated by Issei's talent. Ophus and the rest of the group watched in awe, impressed by his performance. Issei, energized by the audience's response, raised the microphone and asked if they wanted to hear another song. The crowd cheered enthusiastically, and Issei smiled, ready to continue sharing his music. Another song began to play, filling the air with renewed energy and hope. The world was ablaze, yet everyone wore smiles, fully aware of their own culpability. Life was fleeting, prompting them to laugh through the chaos. It was a struggle between good and evil, with both sides standing resolute. The scars they bore were a testament to their brokenness, reminders of the pain they all shared. Yet, there was a certain beauty in their disarray, a magical and tragic quality to the ways they shattered their own hearts. Life was unpredictable, and they found comfort in their misery, believing themselves invincible and unbreakable. Perhaps they were. Ophus listened intently to Issei, captivated by the song he performed. The crowd erupted in cheers, chanting his name with fervor. Issei, filled with joy, announced that he would perform one last song, and the music began to play again. As the song, Down with the Fallen, filled the air, Valis scoffed, acknowledging Issei's rise to fame. Kuroka playfully teased Valley about Issei's popularity, while Albion expressed his reluctance to be called by a peculiar name. The lyrics echoed through the venue, expressing feelings of despair and longing. Issei sang passionately, and the crowd responded with awe, swept away by the beauty of his voice. The energy in the room surged as he declared his determination to fight, igniting the audience's excitement. When the performance concluded, Issei thanked the crowd and left the stage, greeted by cheers as he returned to his friends at their table. They eagerly discussed his performance, each expressing their admiration. Rall questioned why Issei had never revealed his singing talent, while Lu Fei's eyes sparkled with excitement over his stage presence. Kuroka playfully hinted at hopes for their future kittens to sing like him, causing Issei to sweat nervously. Despite the celebration, Issei felt a pang of disappointment that some friends were missing. Seeking solitude, he retreated to a quiet room to take his medicine and reflect. He grappled with hidden depression, uncertain if he could confront Rias after the recent incident. Fearful of jeopardizing their friendship, he hesitated to express his feelings. To him, sharing a bed with a girl did not equate to love, and his past traumas weighed heavily on him. A haunting question echoed in his mind, causing him to cringe at the memory. He berated himself for ever thinking someone would want to date him, as the trauma resurfaced with each recollection. Unbeknownst to Issei, a plan was unfolding behind the scenes. In Azazel's office, he inquired about the arrival of Rias and her peerage. Shemhaza confirmed they were on their way, and Azazel felt a sense of satisfaction, hoping Issei would realize he was not seen as pathetic. Meanwhile, Ophus sensed a dark aura surrounding Issei, a remnant of his troubled past. She understood that for him to embrace hope, he needed to confront the shadows within. Back in his room, Issei gazed out the window, admiring the beauty of the night. His moment of peace was interrupted by the sound of the door opening. Ophus entered, commanding his attention. Without hesitation, Issei took a seat at the foot of the bed, curious about what she had to say. Ophus instructed him to sit down, signaling that an important conversation was about to unfold. Ophus expressed the need for a conversation. Issei, feeling a sense of calm in her presence, inquired about the topic. Ophus addressed the dark aura within him, explaining that his chance to embody hope would be impossible if it remained. She sensed a fallen angel within him, leaving Issei confused. Suddenly, his left palm glowed green as Draig spoke, urging him to release his emotions. Issei questioned Draig and Ophus about the fallen angel within him. Ophus revealed that she heard the words, "Would you die for me?" echoing in his mind, which shocked Issei. He stuttered, asking how this was possible. Draig conveyed his inability to enter Issei's thoughts due to the overwhelming depression he sensed. He noted that Rainer's haunting presence still affected Issei deeply. As Issei's hands trembled, Ophus grasped one of them, encouraging him to speak and let it all out. Issei fought back tears, his expression turning cold as he recounted his past. Rainer had been his first girlfriend, the one who had given him hope and love. He recalled the joy of their first date, the happiness it brought him, and the painful twist when she betrayed him. She had ended his life, dismissing their time together as boring and declaring he was unworthy of love. Despite this, Issei admitted he still loved her, even after she had harmed others. He remembered the night at the church when he struck her out of anger, only to be faced with her plea for mercy. The most shocking revelation was that she had kept the bracelet he gave her, a symbol of their relationship. Unable to kill her, he watched as his leader took her life, leaving only her feathers behind. Issei revealed he kept a black feather from her within his boosted gear, a reminder that proximity does not equate to love. He reflected on the many sacrifices he had made for his friends, recalling the blonde-haired boy he saved from vengeance, the half-vampire he encouraged, and the brunette he supported through her struggles. He thought of Rias Gregori, whom he had helped escape a forced marriage, and the countless times he had proven himself to be a loyal friend and protector. Despite all this, Issei questioned whether the girls truly loved him. He felt sadness as he pondered their feelings, believing their kindness was merely friendship. He recalled their words of affection, which had left him feeling down for weeks, hidden behind his usual playful demeanor. Draig prompted him to consider what he would do when the girls returned, questioning whether he wished to remain friends after feeling ignored and hurt. Issei reflected on the insults he had endured, feeling a sense of disbelief that they could not see his worth. He recalled moments from his time in the hospital, feeling detached from them and questioning if they were truly bored or disgusted by him. He felt lost, burdened by these thoughts and unsure of his place among them. Issei understood that his friends were good people who had always shown him kindness, yet he felt a deep fear of rejection if he tried to advance their relationship. He spoke softly about his concerns but then raised his head to look at Ophus. He felt a strong sense of duty to be by their side, to encourage them, and to serve as their mental support. He had made promises to Kaneko and Akino to help them overcome their fears. He vowed to Asia that he would never leave her or transform into Juggernaut Drive again. He promised to protect Zenobia and Irina as friends and assist them with their struggles. He committed to training Gasper to become brave and fearless. He assured Kiba that they would become ultimate-class devils and pledged to Bucho that he would be the ultimate pawn. He also vowed to protect Rosswise as a comrade. His desire to be with them was not rooted in selfishness. He wanted to see them happy because their happiness brought him joy. He had witnessed their pain and traumatic past, and he swore to protect them from experiences that could threaten their lives again. He declared this oath to Draig and Ophus, admitting that he loved the girls deeply but felt cursed by his inability to confess his feelings. He accepted that his relationship with them might remain unreciprocated. Draig expressed concern for Issei, questioning whether he would endure the pain and suffering, even if his friends would never understand his feelings and might put him in danger again. Issei nodded, resolute. He believed that the pain he would face was nothing compared to the sorrow of seeing them sad, suffering, or crying over his mistakes. He was willing to wait until his last breath for them to understand. Draig reminded Issei that he possessed a unique gift, a selflessness that was rare among devils and dragons. He acknowledged Issei's caring and courageous nature, noting that while most dragons and devils were selfish, Issei showed a willingness to endure pain for the happiness of others. Draig encouraged him, suggesting that if the girls he loved did not appreciate his kindness, there would be others in the universe who would. He wished Issei a good night, and Ophus offered him a tissue. What happened next shocked Issei. Instead of sulking, he found a blood tear flowing from his left eye, a stark contrast to his cold expression. This tear was a testament to the deep pain he felt, a pain he was willing to bear for the sake of others. He could have distanced himself from them, but his love kept him tethered, despite his fear of confessing. Ophus remarked on the blood tears of a dragon, explaining that they were a sign of a pure-hearted dragon like Issei. She noted that such tears were rare in this age. When a dragon like him promises to protect loved ones, this phenomenon occurs. Ophus asked if he was sure he could take on the responsibility of protecting his friends forever. Issei affirmed that he would endure any insults, pain, or suffering because he felt undeserving of love. He was determined to do whatever it took to make his friends happy, even if it cost him his life. It also included Ophus in his vow of protection, smiling through his tears. Suddenly, sobbing could be heard outside the room. Issei turned to see his friends from the ORC group, tears streaming down their faces as they wiped them away. Zenobia and Irina were hugging and crying, Gasper was sobbing, and Kiba leaned against the wall, facing away as he cried. Asia sat on the floor, heavily crying while Akino tried to comfort her. Rias was also in tears, and Kaneko let her own tears flow, looking directly at Issei with her bangs covering her eyes. Issei rushed to the door, concerned for their well-being, but Kaneko suddenly pushed him back onto the bed, surprising him. As he leaned against the headboard, Kaneko climbed onto him and kissed him deeply. Issei was taken aback and did not return the kiss, feeling the warmth of Kaneko's tears on his cheeks. When they finally parted, a thread of saliva connected their lips. The others entered the room, giving space to the girls. Kaneko rested her head on Issei's chest and apologized for ignoring his feelings. Issei was stunned to learn that they had heard everything from the beginning. Asia then leaned in and kissed him gently on the lips, adding to the emotional moment. Issei was taken aback by the sudden affection from the girls. As the kiss ended, Asia took his hands and placed them on her chest, tears streaming down her face. She expressed her regret, apologizing for making him cry and pleading for his forgiveness. Issei remained in shock at the scene unfolding before him, feeling the warmth of Zenobia and Irina clinging to him. Irina cried out his name repeatedly, overwhelmed with emotion, while Zenobia expressed her surprise at his strength, her tears flowing freely as she nestled her head against his neck. Akino then approached, gently pecking him on the cheek before hugging him tightly, her voice filled with sorrow as she begged him not to leave her and apologized for ignoring his feelings. As Issei shifted his position, he noticed Rias standing behind Akino. He stood up, only to be embraced by Rias, who made him realize that the girls were taking turns to comfort him. He questioned whether he was a terrible person, feeling the weight of their guilt and concern. Rias knelt before him, holding his hand and expressing her sorrow for the pain he had endured. She revealed that they were unaware of how much Rainier had tormented him and acknowledged their failure to mend his heart. Rias wiped away his tears, noting the blood that had formed, a sign of his kind heart. She leaned in closer, preparing to kiss him, but Issei hesitated, feeling unworthy. Kaneko, sitting beside him, urged him to believe in their love, while Zenobia admitted her own mistakes in proving her affection. Asia, with sadness in her voice, declared her love for him as a man, not just as a brother. Issei's mind drifted back to painful memories of Rainier, filled with doubt about their sincerity. Aquino interrupted his thoughts, wrapping her arms around him from behind and urging him to believe in their love. She spoke of his selflessness and bravery, how he had protected them and brought them hope. Kaneko reassured him that they were not like Rainier, and Irina expressed her regret for her past words, wishing she had understood his trauma better. As the girls surrounded him in a comforting embrace, Kiba and Gasper joined in, all of them crying as they sought to restore Issei's faith in their bond. Slowly, Issei began to realize the depth of their love for him, and tears of joy filled his eyes. With a small smile, he addressed Rias, apologizing for not participating in the raiding game and for feeling like a terrible servant. Rias responded, flabbergasted, and he reassured her that he wanted to make amends with all of them. Taking a deep breath, Issei confessed his love for each of the girls, expressing gratitude for the second chance they had given him. Overwhelmed with emotion, he struggled to finish his sentence, but the girls blushed happily at his heartfelt declaration. In unison, they proclaimed their love for him, and the group embraced tightly, tears flowing as they shared this moment of connection. Kiba and Gasper were also moved, shedding tears at the display of friendship and love. Issei felt a sense of healing as he realized Rainier's hold on him was fading. He looked toward the door, where Ophus, Azazel, Rosswise, and the Valid team stood. Azazel smiled and gave him a thumbs up, while Rosswise shook her head in disbelief at the scene before her. Valley smirked and left with Biko and Arthur, while Lu Fei cried, touched by their bond. Kuroka stood by with a smile, witnessing the powerful moment of unity. Ophus gave a small smile to Issei, her eyes sparkling with a hint of mischief. The atmosphere around them was charged with an unspoken connection, a bond that seemed to grow stronger with each passing moment. Issei felt a warmth spread through him, a sense of belonging that he had longed for. As they stood together, the world around them faded, leaving only the two of them in their shared experience. The hug lasted for a few minutes as Issei and the girls enjoyed their time together, having reunited after all their challenges. Rias then expressed her feelings, saying she loved Issei. She gently kissed him on the lips, and he returned the gesture. After a brief moment, they pulled away from each other. Issei told Rias that he loved her too and asked if she minded him calling her that. Rias reassured him that she didn't mind at all, resting her head against his chest. Aquino, with her usual cheerful demeanor, chimed in, expressing her desire for Issei to call her casually as well. Kaneko, maintaining her stoic expression, added that she wanted Issei to call her that too. Issei smiled at his friends, feeling grateful for their support. He then noticed Kiba and Gasper, who had been quiet until now. Standing up, he approached them. Kiba, his voice slightly choked, embraced Issei in a friendly hug. He admitted to feeling like a horrible friend for not fully understanding what the girls were going through. As he buried his head in Issei's shoulder, tears began to flow. Issei comforted Kiba, reassuring him that what mattered was that everything was resolved. Kiba expressed his gratitude for Issei's support during his darkest times, saying he didn't know how to repay him. Issei patted Kiba's shoulder, telling him that friendship didn't require repayment. Gasper then rushed to Issei, apologizing for the hurtful things he had said previously. Issei offered a bittersweet smile in response. Meanwhile, Ophus raised her palm, revealing a purple aura shaped like a fallen angel. Azazel observed her closely as she explained that this aura had been inside Issei. After she clenched her fist, the aura vanished, and Azazel nodded, stating they would begin observing Issei from that moment on. He then asked Ophus if she was serious about her commitment to Issei. Ophus confirmed that she had left the Cow's brigade and considered Issei a friend. Azazel, now with a playful smile, joined the group, who were still enjoying their time together. Issei reassured Gasper to stop crying over him, patting his head gently. Azazel remarked on the nature of young love, prompting Issei to give him a knowing look that suggested he was aware of Azazel's involvement in their situation. Azazel denied any planning, but then suggested they head to the party since it was still early. Issei agreed, inviting everyone to join him. Ophus suddenly appeared beside him, and Issei was surprised that the group didn't react to her presence. Rias explained that Azazel had informed them earlier, and they were actually impressed by the friendship between Issei and Ophus. Irina excitedly revealed that she had captured a video of Issei singing at the party, expressing her surprise at his talent. Issei felt embarrassed but was encouraged by Aquino to sing for them at the party. Asia and Zenobia also expressed their excitement about seeing him perform. Rias eagerly anticipated Issei's performance, and he agreed to sing, prompting cheers from the girls. Azazel reminded them to behave around the Valley team at the party, and then playfully teased Rias about Issei's newfound focus away from her. As the group made their way to the ballroom, they found themselves seated separately from the Valley team, enjoying a performance while waiting for Issei's turn. Issei noticed Kaneko, who was sitting on his lap, seemed anxious. He asked her what was wrong, and she revealed that her sister, Kuroka, was present. Issei reassured Kaneko that he had spoken with Kuroka earlier and encouraged her to consider training with her sister to better manage her powers. Kaneko smiled at Issei's words, feeling more at ease. Issei added, half-jokingly, that if Kuroka ever caused any trouble, she could count on him to intervene. Kaneko blushed and smiled, feeling happy that her boyfriend was protecting her so dearly. Aquino teased them, making Issei and Kaneko's faces turn as red as tomatoes. Issei stammered, feeling flustered by Aquino's words and questioning her about what she meant. Aquino expressed her desire to be protected by Issei as well, further embarrassing him. Issei then asked Aquino about her father, curious about his whereabouts. Aquino playfully informed him that her father was on a mission, teasing him about missing his father-in-law. Issei responded, wondering if it was important for Aquino to meet her father now that they had reunited. Aquino expressed her gratitude to Issei for caring about her, reflecting on how much he meant to her and how different her life could have been if she had continued to hate herself as a fallen angel. Issei smiled back, appreciating her words. Just then, Azazel approached Issei, announcing that it was his turn next. Issei nodded and told Kaneko to step aside, preparing for his performance. He donned a black leather jacket as he made his way to the stage. The crowd cheered for him, with Rias and the others encouraging him as he walked backstage. As the previous performance concluded with loud applause, Azazel, the host, introduced Issei to the audience. The crowd erupted in excitement at the mention of his name. Issei stepped onto the stage, illuminated by blue lights and surrounded by mist. He began to sing, his melodious voice captivating the audience. The ORC group watched in awe, especially the girls, who were amazed by Issei's talent. Irina recorded the performance, capturing the moment like a proud parent. Issei continued to sing, pouring his heart into the lyrics, and the crowd responded with enthusiasm. After finishing his song, Issei walked down from the stage, still singing with the wireless microphone. The audience clapped and cheered as he approached the ORC group, exchanging high-fives with his friends. He playfully pinched Kaneko's cheek, causing her to blush with annoyance, and he gently patted Ophus's head. Irina waved at him, excited to capture more memories on her camera. As he returned to the stage to conclude his performance, Issei thanked the crowd, who clapped endlessly for him. After leaving the stage, Drag, his dragon partner, suddenly woke up, sensing the positive emotions radiating from Issei. They shared a moment of connection, with Drag revealing that Azazel had orchestrated the event with Fafner's help. Issei chuckled at the cleverness of his friends and reflected on how liberating it felt to express his feelings. He felt grateful for the support of his friends, who had given him a second chance at life. As he looked around at the familiar faces of Rias, Aquino, Kaneko, Asia, Zenobia, Irina, Kiba, Gasper, Ravel, Ophus, and the Valley team, he realized how much they meant to him. Issei was determined to protect those he cared for, cherishing the bonds he had formed with them throughout their adventures together. The Devil Class promotion test was set to take place in 2 days. This marked the conclusion of the story, as it was where the original author, Issei, had left off. The hope was that readers enjoyed this short tale, with special thanks to Issei for crafting such an engaging narrative.